if you're using the parent portal, then the parents will have access to their PINs already. They log into the parent portal, they see their enrollments, it displays their PIN and the PINs of each contact for every child that they have enrolled. So it's quite straightforward. That's option 1. Option 2, if you need to access the PIN associated with an individual child for any reason, so you can just open the child's profile, go to the Contacts tab, which is the second tab, and all the contacts are listed, and those that are Parent 1, Parent 2, or authorized to collect all have individual PINs. And for anyone except Parent 1, you can override that PIN. Just click on the PIN itself. You'll see that it's in blue, which in SmartCentral terms means it's clickable, and you can enter a new PIN. Now, something to note is that if you have siblings, so 2 children in the same family, the system will attempt to recognize if the contacts are the same person. So you have individual record of contacts on each child because they're not always the same, but the system will try to match them, and if it can match them, it will assign the same PIN to that contact under each child. So if you see a contact and it has that contact, say Harry, has a different PIN on each of the siblings, the cause of that would be that there's something about that contact's information that's not quite the same between the 2 children, because we take a very strict approach to matching. We don't want to accidentally match when it's not the same person, so we take a very strict approach. So even there's something as simple as an extra space on the end of the name will cause the system to think that that's actually a different person. So that's option 2, child profile. Option 3, to get PINs out to parents, let's go People, Parents. And in the top right corner, in the middle section up here, you'll see Download Digital Attendance Sheet PINs. You click on that and it will download all PINs for all children and their contacts as a spreadsheet. So it gives you a handy reference for printing out the PINs if you need to. But you probably won't need to do that because you'll just go ahead and use option 4. Option 4 is the option to bulk email out PINs to all parents. So I just select the parent or parents I want to send PINs to. I click in the box in the header row to select everybody, or I can send it to an individual parent by selecting them, or I can deselect a few parents if I don't want to send it to those particular ones for some reason. So as long as I've got at least one of those tick boxes selected, the Send PIN button will appear. I'm going to select all, and then that will be sent to every parent with an email address, and in that email will be a link for them to access the PINs for themselves and any contacts. So let's take a quick look now at what that email looks like to the parent. I'm just going to open up my mailbox in the test system. And here's a PIN email that's come in. Dear Scotty, so it's personalized with the parent's first name. You can now use digital sign-in, and here's how you access the PINs. And that email will contain your center name and address details and your logo if you've loaded it. So let's click that link. We're taken straight through to an enrollment summary. So Scotty Reed at Lollipops has a sign-in PIN of 8585. Have one child, Laverne, there, but Laverne has no additional contacts. So if Laverne had any other authorised contacts in the system, and that's somebody who's authorised to collect, then their names would appear here with a PIN against them. So the bulk emailer function is probably the one you're most likely to use. It's certainly the most convenient way of getting PINs out to a large group of parents quickly. So the final step in the PIN process is to set up your own PIN or a staff PIN for signing in and signing out on the digital roll. So come into the account menu, My Profile, and at the bottom of the screen is the field marked PIN, and you can use any mix of letters and numbers. It doesn't have to be 4, it can be 5 or 6 or 10 for that matter, but you probably want to choose a small number, minimum of 4, and I typically say use numbers and lowercase letters so you're not fiddling about on the keyboard. So choose your PIN, update, and that PIN's now usable by you. So each staff member needs to set their own PIN individually. So we've done all the setup, all the one-time steps, and now we're going to use the digital sign-in. So log back out as an admin. We don't want to be an admin at this point. Log back in with the email address we created earlier. There we go. If this account's connected to multiple services for digital sign-in, the list will appear here. We're only connected to one. So we click on its ID and it loads the digital roll. So you've now set up your digital roll for use. It's as simple as that. Now, if you're running multiple rooms, if your bookings are configured into rooms, you can definitely set this up for an individual room. You can use multiple devices, so you might have, in larger centres, 2 or 3 or more iPads for signing in. You can certainly use all of those at the same time without any problem. And you could set each device up for a single room, or you could have all devices running the whole service simultaneously. You'll notice here that we're only displaying part of the child's surname, so you can see 3 letters, which was controlled by setting number 4. You can make that 2 or 10, or if I leave it blank, it will show the whole name. So the sign-in process itself is quite straightforward. You tap in the sign-in box. It asks for a PIN. The parent would use their PIN. If you want to use a staff PIN, you click in the staff. You'll notice that it now has a red border to indicate that it's in staff mode. I'm going to use my staff PIN, verify, and now some additional options have appeared. So these are only here if you've ticked those options in the setup menu. I ticked all of them so we could show you all of them, but you can use one or more as you prefer. So my estimated departure time, 5:45, who will sign out? Signature, a little tricky with a mouse, but with a finger on keyboard, it's usually pretty straightforward. If I don't like that, I can have another go. And confirm. And you can see now that the role has updated. It's the child signed in and who did it, the time that they were signed in, so 12:34 at the moment, the estimated departure time, and you'll notice that that's actually in italics as opposed to a normal font. When the actual departure time is input by the child being signed out, then that will update and it will no longer be italics, so you can recognize whether it's an estimate all reality. And you can also see here underlined the name of the person who's expected to pick the child up. And that same operation works the same way whether you're a parent or a staff member, the only difference being to put it into staff mode, you tick the staff box and then use your staff PIN. Whereas a parent just needs to enter their PIN. Okay, so that's it for actually using the role. There's one extra tip I want to show you. I'm going to bring up another browser to do this. So here's Julia, who is a child on the roll today. I'm going to open the child's profile and go to their parent and add a note. Now these notes tend to work best if they're short. The more you write, the less the parent reads. But you can put in more if you need to. You can have a whole story if you wish. And if I tick Publish to Parent, two things happen when I click Save. First is an email goes to the parent with this note in it. The second thing is that it's added to the parent's profile, and the next time that parent signs in, that note will pop up. So let's do that. So you can see that it's recorded who left the note, the date it was left, and the fact that it's waiting to be confirmed by the parent. So let's go find this parent's PIN so we can sign in as them. 4820. 4820. Please call the office. Done. So if we now go back to that screen, we can see that it's been acknowledged by the parent on that date. So in a week's time when the parent says, I never saw that message, you can check that it's actually been confirmed by them.